I'm gonna do a short little video here just explaining the importance of getting your feed analyzed from time to time, and just to have an idea of what your feed analysis is. So let's just go with the situation here. Let's say I have some hay, some kind of second cut hay. So I'm going to say alfalfa. I'll just put second cut hay. And let's say I just go to the books and I find out that it says that that hay is going to have about an 18% crude protein percentage in it. Okay, so 18% crude protein in that hay. And so let's say on a ton of hay, how much protein do I have? So 1,000 kilograms of hay, that means I am going to have about 180 kilograms of crude protein in that hay. Now, I made the assumption it was 18% crude protein, but I go out and I test it, and I actually find out that it's, let's go with 20%. It's actually 20% crude protein, and so it's a little higher than what I thought it would be. On that ton, we've actually got 200 kilograms of crude protein in that hay rather than just 180 kilograms. So that means there's a difference there of 1.11, sorry, this should be not divided, it should be subtract, 20 kilograms of crude protein difference. So that means I'm basically feeding, if I'm going to be feeding, for example, either distiller's grains or soybean meal or something else in place of that 20 kilograms, that's 20 kilograms I didn't really need to feed. Keeping in mind as well that that 20% probably has more available protein in it than the 18% does, because as it gets more mature, it becomes less available, more of it becomes acid detergent insoluble protein. But let's just say it's 20 kilograms for now. Okay, let's go to the 20 kilograms difference here. If I was going to be feeding, for example, distiller's grains, so let's go with distiller's grains, and it's about 29% crude protein in it. Well, what would be, let's just pull this back over to here for now. How many kilograms of, and that's on a dry matter basis, so we're going to first go like this. We're going to take that 20 kilograms and we're going to divide it by that 29. So that means we would be feeding of DDGS dry matter. And the dry matter percentage of that, I'm going to say, is 88%. So 88% dry matter. So that means I'm feeding about, and let me just put the percentage number in here, about 78 kilograms of distiller's grains more than I needed to, right? Than what I need to. And if I look right now on my sheet, I get a weekly sheet that gives me feed prices. Right now, delivered locally, it's going to be about $355 a ton. So $355 a ton. And so per kilogram, if I divide this number by 1,000 kilos, is going to be 36 cents. And so this distiller's grains that I'm throwing away, every ton I'm throwing about $27 away. Okay, that I didn't need to feed, that I'm feeding extra, right? If you're feeding soybean meal as an example, soybean meal, it's about 55% crude protein, and so therefore the same number is going to be, we're going to be feeding considerably less soybean meal. That's kilograms of soybean meal dry matter, and I'm just going to make the assumption that's around the same percentage of moisture in that soybean meal. So therefore we have soybean meal right now is running at about $583 per ton. So divide that by 1,000. You're about $24 a ton right there. Okay, so it's about $24 a ton right there for that feed. And so you can see again, per ton of hay I feed, if I am off by 2%, it's costing me about let's say $25 in that ballpark, just to be able to feed that extra protein that I didn't actually need to feed. What does that mean? That means probably in about 2 or 3 tons of hay, I could have paid for a feed test, right? So if you're only feeding 1 or 2 tons of a product, maybe you're going to go with a book value then. But think about it if it happens the other way around. If I'm 20 kilograms short, now that means I'm going to be feeding less protein in that diet than I thought I was, and I'm not going to be able to get the growth, I'm not going to be able to get the milk production or whatever it is else I need out of it. And so it really doesn't take very much feed to pay for a feed test, to get a feed a test done on it and get a sense of the value of the different feeds. So just a really quick little short video, about 5 minutes long, just explaining the importance of getting feed samples taken from your feed, your hay, your haylage. And just as a rough idea, okay, again, the things that vary a significant amount would be your forages. Okay, your forages change a lot, and I would say, for example, your grass and legumes would be number 1 on that list. Okay, actually I'll put that over because it's a forage. Corn silage will change relatively regularly as well. Once you get into then the concentrates, I would say that corn, you should probably test that at least once a year, because corn, the percent protein and so forth in it, and the amount of starch in it changes based on yields. And so if you've got a relatively consistent yield, then you should be able to take 1 sample per year. And then I would say, like other grains, kind of the same. And then when we get moved down there from there, I think things like soybean meal, distillers grains, they're relatively constant. Probably testing those more than once is probably not going to save you a whole lot of money doing that, because they're going to be relatively constant. Keep in mind that distillers grains can change from plant to plant. So one ethanol plant to another ethanol plant. So as long as you're getting it from the same ethanol plant, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But if you're going to be getting from different ones, you should be testing them just to have an idea of how they vary in that. Okay, so these feeds, again, if you're, for example, harvesting, you're baling your hay, and you cut some of it a little bit early because it looks like it's going to rain, and you cut some of it after the rain, and you get a little bit of a time gap between there, those should be tested differently because they're going to have different levels of protein because they have different levels of maturity. And so you should just have a little bit of an idea what hays are going to be kind of similar, what hays are going to be a little bit more different as you're doing them. Same thing, corn silage. If you harvest it all very, very in a tight window, then it's probably going to be quite similar. But if you have to spread that time out because of weather or whatever other reason, then you have to just understand that corn silage might have slightly different nutrient balances in it, and you should be testing it to get an idea of what that's going to be.